only imagine why it was down that low. Anyways, good afternoon, everybody watching me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I want to welcome you guys back. I know at least two of those platforms didn't get this particular presentation. I'm going to be doing a repeat on Facebook and Instagram at the moment too, just for those of you that didn't quite get to that the first time. So today we're going to be looking at something that's kind of cool. It's basically, this is the first document I made upon which my holistic kind of lab is formed. So we're going to take a quick look at my first kind of documents that I have on that. Yeah, that's basically it. So if you have any questions at any point, definitely feel free to drop one in the chat for me. I can see chat from, I think, everything, but I can only respond to, I think I can only respond directly via text to Twitch and YouTube. And of course, I'll try to acknowledge my Instagram friends over here on my left here from time to time. Anyways, here is the presentation I was mentioning here. So originally I called this like 3 things they don't tell you about, having a fulfilling career in being an artist or a musician. And this has turned into my holistic music lab. This is the basis for my music lab. And so I've got the traits here that we're going to talk about today are going to be our confidence, our patience, and our passion. And let's go ahead and start with passion. Passion tends to be kind of the more, I think this is kind of like the basis for everything really in your art if you're trying to have a fulfilling career as a musician or artist. Henry Matisse said once, this is one of the quotes I really like for this, is creativity takes courage. All right, and this is totally on point with what I'm going to tell you about passion every single time. When you are authentically creating a piece of art, you're sharing a little bit of yourself, and that can be really stressful and nerve-wracking. That's why a lot of people have poems that they've written that they will never see the light of day. People have pieces of music that will never be heard. And why somebody who is a fantastic instrumentalist may have apprehension, to say the least, of getting up on stage and showing anybody their ability. I know from my perspective too, I used to never, I've got a pretty good high range on my trombone, and I don't tend to show it. Like ever. Like it's just an incidental thing. So if somebody writes a high note for me, I'm going to play it. But I'm not really kind of going out of my way to share it with anybody. It can sort of feel like walking down the street in your underwear. This is the metaphor I like here. I like this metaphor. It'll come back in a little bit here. Let's think about like how embarrassing that could be. Some of us maybe are really into that. They'd be like, yeah, this is so super awesome. This is exactly what I want to do. Most of us, I think, probably would feel a little awkward. So, whatever. I'm not going to judge. Story time. When I was a wee little college student back in 2008, a billion years ago now, I had one of the best retail jobs you could have at that time with a large company. It's actually I've been able to check off things on my resume because that name does technically pop up in my work history. And I won't mention the name of the place. It was a good retail job for the time. Certainly beat out a lot of other retailers. At least at that point in time. I was making a decent amount of money, and I was working around products that I kind of like. They're really attractive products, and I could definitely stand by them. for the most part. Even with all of the best possible circumstances, right? I was making money. I really wasn't spending a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of debt at the time. It was the best possible circumstances, right? And I had great coworkers. I was depressed. I was totally depressed. It was awful. I felt awful. I felt terrible every day. Every day I felt terrible coming home from work, even though it was awesome. And it's because music was missing from my life with that. When I was working for this company, I didn't play. I didn't practice. I had plenty of time to do it. I just didn't feel like it when I got home. And that's when I discovered the absence of that in my life. Music was my life. It is my life. And I realized that I had that level of passion for it. If you have this level of passion for what you, for this, for your art or for music, etc., definitely hang out with us some more here. There's definitely going to be things that I think you're going to be like, oh yeah, that sounds about right, or something like that. You'll be in good company for this. So a good test about this, maybe you're, sorry, I'll go back to this here, because some of the younger people that may be viewing this too, may be thinking, well, sorta, but not really just yet. You know, I'm not sure if that's exactly me yet. That's fine. That's fine. Our vision and our feeling about our passion and our art changes yearly, changes minute by minute. So, even if you've got sort of a general idea of how you feel about your art, that's good enough. That's certainly good enough. Let's see here. So a good test about what you're passionate about. You can imagine this too, even if you're not like super settled on it. Think about if you had to give up music tomorrow. Somebody asked me this in a job interview one time. And of course, I answered them honestly and therefore didn't get the job. They asked me if I would be willing to give up music for their job. Now, I'm, again, not going to mention which employer this was. It's a large tech employer. Anybody that knows me, it's not the one you're thinking about. It's another one. And this particular one here had many musicians working for them. In fact, high level gigs. People were taking high level gigs and taking literally taking time off of work from that company to go play on TV, national TV. So, and I knew that as a fact going in. So the recruiter said, "Hey, you're pretty good, but are you willing to give up music?" And of course I said, I didn't think I would have to, because I knew all of these musicians were already working for them. So it's like, the musicians are not all out of the office at the same time. It's not like we're all going to be on the same, gig or anything like that. So it's not really a big deal, but it was a big deal for them. So, but just think about that. If music disappeared from your life tomorrow, would that be just like, meh? Maybe it's not your passion if that's the case. If you had any kind of other response, sad, angry, depressed, or anxious, there's a risk with eliminating the passion for your life or assigning it to a lesser part of your life. All right? Because if you're not all in on your art, it makes it a lot harder. It makes it a lot harder to progress with it. You can definitely do it, but it's kind of the long way around, so to speak. Maybe even just recognizing your passion at first is probably sufficient. If you can just recognize that is your passion, and that there's a risk at deleting this passion from your life, then maybe that whole idea of walking down the street in your underwear isn't really the type of nightmare it was before. This is the cornerstone of the holistic music lab, which is success is kind of, I use the word success here. I want to change that. This is weeks later here. Let's see if I can change it. Can I? My keyboard's not working with this. Fulfill. No, I can't type onto this keyboard at all right now. I'm just going to leave it as is then. For whatever reason, it's not letting me type. So that's okay. Fulfilled. A fulfilled artist. If you're passionate about your art, then you need to be able to do your art for yourself too. This is the other part to think of too. You can't delete it from your life. That doesn't work. I think when I graduated in 2009, which was shortly after the Great Recession, we're kind of in the midst of it, and there weren't any jobs. There just weren't any. I must have interviewed 100 times at least for different things, all sorts of different things. So it wasn't exactly a convenient time to be an artist, from my perspective, requiring, money to pay my student loans back, money to just survive, stuff like that. General survival needs were not being met, and I literally couldn't find a job. So that was a thing. And this whole idea of passion and being able to, like, I definitely, this is why I kind of like tried to eliminate my passion from this, because it just wasn't convenient, from what I thought it was. It wasn't something that I could do though, because of these emotions that came back to haunt me. The other part of this though is, aside from just deleting it too, one good way to make it authentically yours is, if you're not playing gigs, if you're not playing for somebody else, at least play for yourself. Play music for yourself. In one of my previous trainings this past week, I mentioned something about when we were talking about practice, and what was it now? Now I'm going to have to look it up. I'm going to look it up really quick and put it on the screen. Because it was about, it's kind of like, I think it had to go with gratitude, which is something that'll come up eventually in here too. Let me just look at the previous ones here. This is going to be a mix, I think, of different things here. Connected focus. Let's see. Purpose. Oh, purpose. And purpose sounds, we'll go with purpose for now. Your purpose for playing music, thinking back to when you started music, why did you start music for the first time? Why did you play your instrument? Why did you pick your instrument? We all picked different instruments. Even voice is an instrument. We all picked different instruments. Why did we pick them? What difference does it make? And that's something that you want to try to remember. Try to remember that when you're trying to do this. It helps keep your art and your music authentic. Yes, I admit there are other ways that may be necessary for you to express and realize this passion. Like practice, for example. Or certain types of practice, like technical practice, practicing orchestral excerpts. If your passion and goal is you love playing in an orchestra so much that you want to play with an orchestra forever, like you just want to keep doing that, there's definitely stuff you're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to play really well in these auditions, exactly the way they want you to in those auditions. Very precise articulation, very precise sound. Notice I don't say correct, I say precise, because it is a precise sound. I don't believe in a correct sound. These are assets though. They're not what makes your passion. They're not what makes your art. They're just parts. They're parts and pieces. When the parts and pieces come together, they create things. But in general, the parts and pieces they're secondary. They're secondary to the thing that's really important, which is your passion. So, continuing on. This is much of the same of what I just said. I'm finding shorthand ways to say this right now. An orchestral playing is a very specific type of playing. Orchestral musicians and orchestral auditions, they expect a very specific type of playing, a very specific type of articulation, all of that. It's a very specific type of phrasing. Some of it has to do with the genre, and some of it has to do with the establishment that it expects this exact or precise type of playing. And whatever the case is, this is, fact. They expect this. Jazz bands are the same way. Jazz bands are quite the same way. They expect it's a different type of specific, but it's the same idea. It's funny listening to classical players talk about how different the jazz. They think that the jazz crew is more accepting, more open sometimes, and they're exactly the same. They're just different styles. Different styles and different. Sorry, I should specify. Different histories, different repertoire, different styles, but very specific types. Notice that when I show up to a jazz gig with my big Bach 42, they're like, wow, that's a big horn for jazz. Well, why would they say that? Is the music the player or the instrument? And how much of it is the instrument? It really depends, I think. I made a graphic organizer, which I'll be posting in my group, which I'll talk about in a moment. Just things to kind of organize your thoughts about this. Now, here's a big thing. This is why I highly recommend authenticity over anything else. Authenticity needs to be paramount. Your individual approach to your passion, your feelings about your music, these are paramount. They're the most important things. The reason why you do what you do. And the reason why this is important is because if you don't think that these are important, if you don't deal with these on your own personal level, you can end up with what's called imposter syndrome, which you're probably going to get no matter what you do. At some point, it's going to happen. Almost certainly, without a doubt. We all kind of fall into this habit of, judging ourselves more harshly than others. And sometimes that can go into, kind of a severe comparison of yourself to another player. And I would discourage that as much as possible. You have your own musical identity. If it doesn't fall into somebody's idea of musicianship, you just haven't found the right one. You haven't found the right group. A wise vocalist who's very, very successful by every measure once told me, play with the musicians that want to play with you is the best advice I've ever heard from anybody. Play with the musicians that want to play with you. So with that, you don't worry about imposter syndrome because you have your own musical identity. And this person has her own musical identity too. You don't tend to suffer from burnout as much. You're creative. You're creating music. You're no longer on the tape recorder side of it where we hit play and it makes it happen. That's MIDI. MIDI instruments, MIDI music. I love MIDI music too. I love that too. I have a blast playing with MIDI music. But for your own musical identity, even if I'm creating music with MIDI, I'm putting the notes in. I'm not just downloading something and hitting play. I'm making it art. I'm making it part of my music. I'm making my music part of it. So these things. Underemployment. If you needed one more reason that passion was important for this. All right, having your own musical identity here. Underemployment. I'm not saying when I go up here and I'm saying, oh yeah, orchestral and jazz playing, as if these are the only two planes that exist. I'm not saying don't do these, or I'm not saying do these. All I'm saying is that the more versatile you are as a player, the more open you are to different types of music, the more open you are to your own musical identity and being flexible with it, being able to change your technique, being able to adapt to the different settings that you have to deal with. You're not going to have a problem finding a job. Not at all. Everybody likes a versatile player. If you're a versatile player, you can play with a symphony in the day, and on the weekends, or you can play with a symphony on the weekends or whatever, and split for like a week or two and play the big band gigs, or play the jazz clubs, or play in a hip hop group, or play in a rock band, or whatever you want to call the music you create. You can do all of that. And that is how you avoid underemployment with having your own musical identity. You have the power when you have the identity, when you know your identity and you own it. This is another one here. I'm getting to patience. Patience. You ever hear this saying, good things happen to those who wait? Sorta sometimes. I don't know. What do we all think about that? Anybody that's watching or maybe pops in, just leave a message. What do you think about that saying? Good things come to those who wait. This sort of gives me the impression, I'll tell you, it gives me the impression that if you wait long enough, something good will happen to you, right? I mean, logic would dictate something will happen to you. Good or bad, it doesn't really say which, but something will happen to you if you wait around long enough, right? Something. Maybe somebody that's actually going somewhere will step over you. And that's something could happen too. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. That you couldn't be discovered by somebody, some famous, jazz artist or impresario. But more likely than not, probably not. Also, who is going to find somebody that's not doing? How does that person discover you even? It's just not going to happen if you're doing nothing. And in fact, I guess at this point, when I was writing this weeks ago, I said it would never happen. So what kind of good pieces can we pull from this saying here? Is there a way to make some of this same work? What's this? Is there a way to make this same saying work? I think that's what I meant as saying work. Wow. So many typos in this. When we talk about patience in this part of the presentation, we're also talking about persistence. So it's not just like patience like, okay, well, eventually something good will happen. No. It's called not giving up, even when bad things happen. Even when bad things happen. The universe opens another door. When one closes, one opens, another opens. I've always found this to be true. Always found this to be true. When one door closes, another opens. Remember that. If you're looking to become the kind of artist that people look for, that people are, that you feel fulfilled being part of, because it's really not about other people in this case, from this perspective. This is, you're gonna try to, it's like, my coach told me this one. It was kind of cool. It's like on the airplane where the air mask comes down and they say, all right, help yourself before helping somebody next to you. And that's exactly what this is. Help yourself with the fulfillment first. If you're persistent, then you can help others. If you're not doing anything, it's not going to be as easy to help somebody if you're can't help yourself. How do you even do that? You're going to have to put in the work on the fundamentals. The fundamentals are huge. They're pretty much everything. The fundamentals of your instrument. Tone, pitch, rhythm, and flexibility, air, focus. This is something that you have to do. Articulation. All of these things. And when I say you have to do it, it's not like I'm saying it has to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's going to be really good sometimes. It'll be really, really good sometimes, and I hope that it's like that more often than not. But it's never going to be perfect. And that's okay. Because it's even harder to be persistent with something that's perfect. Each of these parts is really difficult. And it's going to make matters more difficult when you're going to need to be persistent and have patience with that. Because none of these things work overnight, and they require constant attention. Networking too. Networking with your musicians, it's not enough to just say, oh, well, I knew all of these guys like 10, 15 years ago from undergrad or something like that. Keep up with what they're doing. And not just because it's useful to your career. It's also I find that like you want to like create a community of support. Like if you want somebody to come and support you, you got to be there for them too. You got to be there for them too. And it kind of feels good to do that sometimes. Producing a product, coming up with something. If you can't find anybody that can play with you, whether they want to or not, sometimes they won't be able to. There are lots of technological ways that you can make a product playing music by yourself. For an artist, patience is grace. There are some musicians that have a lot of luck early on, with their hard work recognized. Sometimes that luck is often just knowing what to do and making good guesses about the market, on how to market themselves as a musician. Maybe they know, maybe their family was into business or in the music business, or maybe they played the instrument that you played and they're like really that much better than you at it right now because they've been taking lessons forever, pretty much. This is a huge source of imposter syndrome. You can't worry about that. You can't worry about that. We're all born with different things, different talents, but we're all humans. another thing that can happen here is in conservatory, sometimes we feel sometimes like we're pitted against each other. I don't know if it's really designed to pit us against each other. I don't think it was explicitly laid out like that for me at my conservatory. But sometimes it would feel that way, I think. It may have felt like that to some of us. And for scores, auditions, and competitions and stuff like that, each notch of those, it was very competitive. As a professional artist, you have to understand that you are the only competition. You're the only competition for yourself. You are also your worst critic. You're also the driver in your musical career car. Okay? These strings here. I'm going to say, these are worth saying one more time, okay? Just in case somebody missed it the first time here. As a professional artist, it is crucial to understand that you are only in competition with yourself. You're also your worst critic, so try not to criticize yourself too much. You are also the driver in your musical career car. Any success you have is yours. Any failures you have are yours, and you get the opportunity to pick yourself back up and put yourself on the road with that car again and again and again. To avoid this terrible feeling, try to focus on the things you have control of. I always think, even when, you miss an audition or you don't play as well as you'd like, anybody watching me on Instagram who saw me just pick up the soprano trombone and mess around with it for the first time in a few months, yeah, that worked a little bit differently than what I planned it to be. Yeah, I would say. But I had a choice with that. I could say, oh, well, I'm never doing that again. But you know what? I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow morning on Instagram. When I get up, I'm going to play my fundamentals, and that's me getting my car back on the road. What happens in the future is unknown, and you can't control it. You can control your actions, how you choose to deal with the present, and how you choose to react to the past, I guess. What happened in the past is gone, though. You can't control that either. You can only control your present, your actions and your thoughts only, not others. So what are some things you can do? You can practice every day. You know what that means? That means try to practice every day. If you practice every day, or you at least try to practice every day, then you're going to get better. If you miss a day and you've practiced 4 out of the 7 days, say you practice 4 out of the 7 days and not spaced well apart. Literally, there's 3 days that you just didn't touch it. Well, that's okay, because you can come right back to it. You can pick your car off the ditch there and put it right back on the road and keep going. And that's what you have to do. You have to do that. That's one of the tough parts, is to try to do that. This is our practice here. If you miss a day, you miss a day. The worst thing about practicing, I think, is if you continue to practice and it's not the right day to practice. This one is really hard. It might seem like I'm contradicting myself here. Yes, practice every day, except when it's not efficient practice. When practice has got you hitting your head up against the wall like a lot, might be time to go get a glass of water and come back to it later. Or it really depends on how bad it feels that day. I feel like I'm kind of like the ideas I'm thinking of, like related to Star Wars, is like you're thinking about the Jedi way of using your energy, as opposed to the Sith. The Sith is like, use your anger, use your hate. And for you, in this, I'm hoping what you're going to try to do is use your love, use your happiness, use your strength, use your will. But as soon as that will turns to fear of not being good enough, of imposter syndrome sets in like that, there are bad habits that come up. Maybe I'll do another video about some of those things. Why you don't want to really spend a lot of time practicing when you're hitting your head up against the wall. All right, we'll go over that. Maybe that'll be this week coming up. It's a myth that everybody practices, that practice every day is unreasonable. Wait, is this what I say? The myth that everyone practices every day of the week is unreasonable. Myth that everybody. All right. I think I'm confused about what I wrote here. Actually, it's kind of, I think what I'm trying to say here is that it's a myth if you think that you're always going to get a time every single day to practice. The best of us are, we're going to fall ill to some disease at some point and not be able to practice. You don't want to practice with the flu. If you practice with the flu virus ends up in your horn and it just kind of chills out there till we clean it. So it's also unnecessary if the practice session or any of them or any of it's become ineffective because the mindset is not geared towards efficient practice. There's ways that you can gear your mind towards that to really optimize your practice. So you can practice smarter, not harder. Practicing with the wrong mindset can also be 2 steps backwards. It's like if you are a student and you're like, oh, I'm going to hit that double high C today. And you're like forcing it. And then eventually you squeak it out. And you're like, I got it. I'm done. And then you go and take a break and can't play for 3 days because you busted your chops. That's a good example of how the wrong mindset can be 2 steps backwards. Because what you're doing for the next couple days is not practicing. Especially if it hurts. You want to be always taking steps towards your goal. What is your goal? That's up to you. Making gratitude part of your everyday warm-up. It's easy to forget that what you do is not something that everybody else in the world can do. Even a mediocre musician, and I say mediocre as if we're judging anybody in here. How about this? Even a young musician or a novice musician or an amateur musician has the gift. We all have that gift. As soon as you pick up the horn and you can make a sound on it, you can do more than most of the world's population can do. As soon as you make that sound, you already have something that the rest of the world, for the most part, does not have. Be grateful for the gifts you have. The ability to make a sound on your instrument. Be grateful for that. It's a good thing. It's powerful. Be grateful that you have an instrument. If you have an instrument in your hand, instruments are made of metal sometimes, or they're made of materials. You're very fortunate to have that in your hand. Be very, very glad for that. You have, let's see, if you're able to write songs, if you're able to play beautiful music for somebody else and make them feel better, that's a gift. Part of this warm up, the mindful warm up is taking an inventory of the things that you do have. So you're aware of what you have. Not just, what you don't have. Okay, well, I don't have the double high C today. Okay, good. What do you have? It's natural to be negative and to wander to the negative. That's why we have to make this effort, this extra special effort to respond to the positive. It puts us in a great headspace for creating strong artistic choices. Be kind to your mistakes. Make sure you can learn from them. You're the only one sometimes in the crowd that notices them. And for this reason, being compassionate and understanding when you make mistakes is, especially if you're in the practice room by yourself, a good practice. This doesn't mean to ignore your mistakes and not try to fix them. Definitely try to fix them. Why not? Okay, I really, that double high C sounded really strained. I think probably what I need to do is play it with a little more air and give it a little more resonance. Okay, that might be right. So try to fix it that way. Basically what I'm trying to say is that the world will not end if you miss a note. Celebrate your success. Practicing every day. You've got a 7-day streak now practicing. Cool. That's awesome. Congratulations. Make every day special with the one thing, at least, that you can be proud of doing in your practicing or in your playing. If things get really rough, and sometimes they do, maybe just surviving the day. Not letting your mind fall into the trap. Successes don't have to be large. These are pretty important here. Where's that? I got the last part of this here. Overflowing confidence here. So when you combine these guys here, the patience and passion, this overflowing confidence is kind of the gratitude part. Is that no matter what, so you can feel this overflowing confidence. I'm going to go back to the just regular camera here because it's not really on. This is off the page here. Now, this is like extra special. So you're, say you've got this warm up here and you're warming up to play your first gig. And it can be nerve-wracking depending on where and what you're playing, I guess, to make that change to, a paying gig. So what you got to do is you got to think about it, be like, okay, I'm going to prepare for this, and just do your best with preparing for it. Make sure you plan an efficient practice. And you remember, creativity takes courage. Remember your musical identity. What you are. And your purpose, where you're going. Your purpose is important. For me, it's almost everything. What's the purpose of your music? This overflowing confidence comes from trusting that you have all of these gifts. And if you try to use them together, you can succeed. We'll work on different levels of that, though. So the last thing I want to kind of share with you here, and maybe I'll front load this next time, is this idea of I've got a presentation up actually still here. Let's see, where is it? it's an idea of, I just close it. I think I closed it. All right, I'll open it up again here. Let me open it up. So I have this group that I'm going to be developing, and it's holistic music lessons, and we're basically we're attacking all of these angles that we just talked about. So let me bring this up. Where is it? Come on. Let's see here. Holistic music lessons. I can't seem to find it. I might just have to go with a screen capture and then. All right, let's do a screen capture. Sorry, I'm getting used to this new laptop. Let's see, screen capture. Oh, it's got to be there. No. Oh, there it is. All right, I got it. All right, so this one right here. So I just want to introduce myself. If you don't know me already, and feel free to talk to me in a chat or a DM anywhere, or comments or whatever. But I'm a performer, teacher, a studio recording artist, mostly on trombone. I've taught more trumpet lessons than I've taught trombone lessons, though. I've about 10 years, actually more than 10 years now, of teaching experience both inside and outside of classrooms. I have a bunch of album credits from this past year alone, actually. I rely almost entirely on holistic concepts in my musicianship. It's literally how things work for me. I'm very, very persistent with it. My program that I hope that you'll ask me about and perhaps join at some point. We focus on highly focused, targeted instruction. So, yes, we need to make sure that these pillars are being addressed: purpose, connected focus, and gratitude. But we want to give you the ability to use your gift that you have to have that flexibility that I talk about. It's not just enough to say, oh yeah, we'll just think about it and it'll work. No, it doesn't work that way. Mindset is a lot of things, and it's almost everything, but the fundamentals, they're more or less everything. There's certainly everything else. What this program will include is it includes a highly focused instruction, which is a private lesson, a group, and a bunch of group lessons. We have a weekly community warm-up activity, which is a free thing. I think I'm going to probably try to start that in the next couple weeks, just in general. Masterclass live streams like this, dealing with different aspects of practical holistic musicianship. I'm literally just this week is a little different because I'm just kind of like I'm really just redoing the first one I did because we didn't have YouTube and Twitch live, and then measured results every month. So, look, I'm not expecting that you put effort into this huge amounts of effort in this program and don't get anything. No, you get all of this stuff. You get the targeted instruction. This is heavy, by the way. This part alone is probably one of the heaviest mechanical parts of this program. This involves very specific tailored tasks to your needs, your specific needs. This here is the community warm-up activities. I might tailor them a little bit to who's there, because I'll know all of the people that are there for the most part, and anybody who's not there, I'll have some general thoughts about what we can do to make things better. And then this will be anything like specific kind of holistic thing that I want to introduce to you guys. And then the measure results, they'll come every month. Sometimes when I use one of these holistic concepts with some of my current students, it's like a night and day thing, like immediately, not overnight, like literally just like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes I have to recalculate that. But there are some things that when I do them in lessons, and it doesn't matter what level you are, if you have that concept, sometimes it's just like that. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I hope you'll join me again for this. I'm really excited to be working with this holistic program, this holistic method that I'm designing for a number of years now. I'm really excited to finally be able to share that with you guys. So I hope that you'll join me in doing more of these, and then I'll try to figure out what day I can do a warm up for the community warm up, and we'll start doing that. All right. If you have any questions or any comments for me or about the training or anything else, please do leave a comment on any of the places where you're seeing this. Really do. Or send me a direct message. I'll reply to you. I've carried on conversations in languages I'm not proficient on even. So feel free. So all right. Be well. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend. Thank you.